Yes, good morning, all of you. Okay, in previous class, we observed that the block diagram of the phase comparison monopulse tracker. What are the different blocks it involves? How it generates an error signal using the techniques of phase comparison method. Okay, so far we have seen the different error generating techniques under angle tracking, like sequential lobing, conical scan, monopulse. Okay, so almost in every case, whatever the error signal is generated, it is proportional to the angle, that's why these techniques are treated under the angle tracking. Now let us see the another tracking technique, that is range, known as the range tracking. That means it uses the range information in order to track the radar. Okay, what is meant by tracking? Already we know. Tracking means representing the path of the target, or also the tracking radars are used to predict the future position of the target. Okay, now how the tracking can be done using the range information? What is the technique involved in this case? Okay, so let us see how the range tracking can be appears. Okay, this is the idea, just how the range tracking can be done, but the block diagram of the circuit not shown here, just idea represented here, how the tracking can be done using the range. So here figure A is the echo pulse, and figure B is early gate and late gate timings. That is, this is the instant where early gate is switched on, and this is the time where early gate will be switched off, and at the same time instant the late gate will switch it on, and this is the time where the late gate will be switched off. And figure C represents the output energy pulses with reference to gates. Okay, that is the tracking in range or range tracking technique uses a split gate mechanism, the split range gate system also called. It uses two gates, one is known as the early gate and another one is late gate. Already you know the range gate means a sample and hold circuit. That is the technique actually. In the realization, we have to use sample and hold circuit in place of early gate and the late gates. Okay, so let assume initially, actually suppose if the target in the tracking axis, correct tracking axis, the center of this early gate and late gate is aligned with the center of the echo pulse. Okay, is the center of early gate and late gate, okay, is aligned to center of the echo pulse. Suppose if the target is deviated from this axis, from the tracking axis, these two centers may not be aligned. Okay, suppose if the target in the tracking axis and the centers are aligned, whatever the energy is produced by the late gate and early gate consisting equal magnitude. Okay, and in the system, the outputs of early gates and late gates are subtracted. If the subtraction results gives zero value, that means there is no error signal, and that to the target in the tracking axis, correct tracking axis. Okay, suppose if the subtracted output is some value, some residue will be there, it represents it represents the error signal. It represents the error signal. That error signal is used to change the position of the antenna, or not position of the antenna here. The technique is it changes the timings of early gate and late gates, the conductive periods of early gate and the late gates, and try to align the center of these gates with the center of the echo pulse. Okay. Okay, suppose if you observe, if the centers are aligned, equal amount of pulses you can observe in the third graph. Okay, equal pulse width and magnitudes of pulses you can observe here. But if you see here in this diagram, the centers are not aligned. That means the target is not in tracking axis. Okay, therefore the amount of energy produced by the early gate is very less compared to the amount of energy produced by the late gate. Okay, so that if you subtract these two, you may get some residue that is helpful to change the on and off times of these early gates. Okay, so that the alignment between the centers of gates and echo pulse will be done. So like that, this tracking can be done, that is tracking using the range data can be done. Okay, then after this you have the acquisition methods. Every tracking radar, before going to track, it has to do detection action. Okay, what for detection action? So it has to identify the target which it has to track, and whether the target is present or not. Okay, so in the search area, first the tracking radar do the action of detection. Okay, so but for detection, usually the radars uses a pencil beam. Okay, that beam uses one of these patterns for identifying the presence of the target. Okay, so the patterns like figure A is called the helical pattern, helix. Figure B is referred as the Palmer. The same helix in the horizontal mode is called the Palmer. Figure C is the spiral. Okay, the pattern which is used by the pencil beam for the searching of the target is spiral. Okay, the spiral shape manner it's do the searching action. Okay, and figure D is the pattern is called raster pattern. It is called the raster pattern, like television scan. So the way how the picture produced in the television screen, that is called the scan type of television screen is referred as the raster. The same that is the D pattern is called the raster. That also the radar ends, beam is follows for searching the targets. Okay, and E is the in the horizontal mode, whereas raster do searching from top to bottom of the given area, and top to bottom and left to right side, whereas noding covers the search area from bottom to top and left to right side direction. Okay, so like that, different patterns that beam can be follows for the identification of the target in the search area. Okay, but each one has their own advantages and disadvantages. Okay, uh, that is about the acquisition techniques of the tracking radars. Okay, thank you.